Hello everybody, welcome to Ask JP. Let's take the question today from Nagaraju, Guntur. He's in the software sector. Nagaraju, please go ahead.
Hello, JP sir. This is Nagaraj. Currently, I'm working as an IT developer in Bangalore. My question is with respect to caste system. Even after 75 years of independence, we could see caste acts as a social barrier in many ways and a tool of mobility in very few ways. We could say that it is able to survive the constitutional ban as well. Is there any way we can get rid of caste as an institution in distant future, if not soon? An extension to this question is currently I'm working as a developer in IT industry. So there is a popular belief that developers treat testers and support teams as inferior to them. Sometimes the boundaries created to segregate the work are converting themselves into stratification. How can we ensure the dignity of labor? One thing, and might be in our society it's a caste, somewhere else it is a race or language, etc. Can there be a society without any stratification?
Thank you, Nagaraju. Now, there are two parts to Nagaraju's question, and they're both relevant to our conditions in the country. The first is, despite 75 years of freedom, caste seems to be as prevalent today as ever. When can we end caste? What are the ways of doing that? The second is a related question, though not directly a caste issue. A lack of dignity of labor. How certain works, certain jobs, certain occupations are treated as superior, certain others as inferior. How there is no dignity of labor. For instance, he gave the example of developers in software sector treated on a pedestal, put on a pedestal, as opposed to the other people who are very important in doing things. For instance, the testers, the support staff, and so on and so forth. Both are good questions and in some ways related. There is always a clash in every country, every democracy, between the constitutional ideals and the social norms. Because society does not change as fast as the law changes. Culture does not change as fast as you and I wish, but over time it changes. We must be patient, we must persevere, and we must design institutions very properly, whether it is the law or the way the government works or the society functions. While to some extent caste has become a little less relevant than before, it's no longer the rigid caste system or untouchability or certain castes believing that they are superior or given or are being given special importance. That has come down. But the truth is, even today, the caste consciousness, divisions on grounds of caste, mobilization of people in politics on the basis of caste, these are all very common. And of course, people are still in the large part marrying within the caste, about 90-95% of the people. So what do we do about that? The first is education. What is the reason why we believe that there is inequality by birth? Caste essentially is about inequality by birth being accepted as normal. It's abnormal. All human beings are equal at birth. God or nature endowed them with a lot of potential, a lot of innate talent. But education is what really nurtures the talent. Animals only require instinct, whereas we require more than instinct. We require to hone our skills to be able to function as productive human beings in a modern society, because we created an artificial society. No other animal has this kind of a society and interactions with strangers on large scale. So education, if that is given, real quality education, not merely building schools and spending money and having teachers, but real education to fulfill our potential, to make us think better, to make us understand the world better, to acquire skills, to be productive members of the society in creating wealth, creating goods and services, in interacting with the rest of the people. Unless your abilities are harnessed, your innate talent is nurtured, inequality will continue by birth. Now, in India, sadly, even today, in respect of 80% of the children, the birth, the circumstances of birth, the accident of the womb, that is determining the future of the child. So in a way, despite our claims that we have given up on caste system, your caste of origin or the circumstances of parents at birth. They are determining the future of a child, not the child's talent or intelligence or hard work or the good that the child can do to society. Now, obviously, that perpetuates caste and other divisions. The second thing is, can we make people understand that there is something beyond caste, individual interest? For instance, if I have a child who needs to go to school, I love the child so much more than I love my caste. Therefore, I want the child to go to the best teacher. Because every parent, Hindu, Muslim, upper caste, lower caste, urban, rural, they all want their children to do well. So once I understand that my child's future is very important, I'm more bothered about the quality of education the child gets rather than the caste of the teacher. Or if I want a surgery to be done, I'm more concerned about the skill of the doctor to save patients than the caste of his or her origin. This is called individuation, an ability to transcend primordial loyalties, the circumstances of birth, and understand your enlightened self-interest. In other words, it's not because of nobility we give up caste. It's because of greater awareness of what is best for us as human beings. So if social, political, and democratic and administrative institutions are built in a manner that we understand what is the benefit we get individually and as a family, then caste becomes diluted. You're giving speeches about eliminating caste will not eliminate caste. You are creating a mechanism by which you realize there's something more important than caste for you in your life. And the pursuit of that is important for your family. That loosens the caste bonds, reduces the importance of caste. In other words, draw a bigger line of what is the gain for me and my family, enlightened self-interest. The third is, how do we reshape politics? When people don't understand the link between the vote you give and what happens to you as a family or as an individual, or the taxes you pay and what you get from the government in return to make your life better, when that link is snapped, when power is centralized, you vote with great celebration but without any serious consequences. Now, what happens is people fall back upon caste and other identity politics. Politics is an important way by which caste is perpetuated in India. Because most of the mobilization in India for votes is based on caste, because the political parties and the governance system have in large measure failed to show what is there in it for them in the elections and in the vote. Either we're giving them money for voting, that is vote buying, not only illegal but distorting all politics and destroying democracy, or we're offering short-term freebies, temporary welfare measures that do not really improve the lot of the people, or we are dividing people on caste, region, and religion. So if power is decentralized in a manner with accountability, in a manner that people understand, what do I get out of the taxes I pay? And if I choose a leader A as opposed to leader B, what will happen to my life and my family? If that understanding is clearer, then caste will become less important in mobilizing people in politics. All these three must be done. But along with that, we also must have social reform movement. It's not everything about government and laws. Society will be transformed by social reform movements. There must be continuous engagement to make people understand how stupid caste is, how much we are getting hurt by caste, by divisions of this kind, which are artificial, which are irrational, which are self-defeating, which are hurting us. And young people, younger generation, once they are ready to marry, they must be willing to choose life partners who are most suitable for them, with whom their life would be happy, because they are going to spend a lifetime with a life partner. On this one issue, they must go beyond what the family asks, beyond what the tradition expects, and go for their own personal happiness, not because they are great social reformers, but because they are smart people who want their own happiness. With which person would they like to share life? With whom is their life going to be compatible? They share interests, they love each other, they can be happy. And once that happens, then caste will disappear over a few generations. So we have a lot of work to do But there's no reason to despair. Definitely caste today is less important than it was 50 or 100 years ago, but sadly it is still important. And politics is going around the caste. We must address all these. The related question is about dignity of labor. What Myron Weiner, a very distinguished sociologist, called psychology of caste, operates in our society. Because of that, we have this notion that some occupations are superior, some are inferior. We are not measuring the worth of work on the basis of what do we get out of that work. We are measuring it on the basis of some notions of superiority and inferiority, notions of pollution. These are both irrational and counterproductive. But we all suffer from that. And the government is making things worse. Because somehow in the past 75 years, and it continues, the notion is that an employment means, without producing anything of value to people, being a government babu, a clerk or something else in a government office, exercising arbitrary power, not doing anything of value to people, but being pampered by the government with the tax money, getting much higher salaries for the same work elsewhere, and getting a lifelong pension and other things way above what the society can afford. This has become the norm. And therefore, that has become the aspiration. Therefore, instead of promoting dignity of labor, productivity, and creation of wealth, which means creation of goods and services that people need, we are focusing on positions, lifetime security, getting something which is not due to us because of a collective bargaining power, and most of the assets are going waste. We must change that. Unless dignity of labor is inculcated, unless we realize that what matters is the value that's brought to our life, everything else is irrelevant. All this notion of superiority of work is irrelevant. As Nagaraj said, not only the hierarchies in software sector between developers and others, doctors versus nurses. Nurses are incredibly important. Other healthcare workers are very important in delivering quality healthcare to the people. But somehow in our society, all the glamour goes to the doctors, and we treat other related occupations in the healthcare sector as somewhat inferior. Things are getting a little better now, but for a long time we treated nurses as inferior. No sensible doctor and no smart patient should treat other healthcare workers, other doctors, as inferior. Ultimately, we are getting hurt. Similarly, engineers versus the skilled workers. I know of cases where enterprises are asking young engineers who have really no skills but only a degree, asking them to acquire real skills. I know cases where after engineering they have done ITI. They've really learned because there's a job waiting for them and got into manufacturing jobs. And yet, the bulk of the people somehow think a degree automatically makes you superior. A piece of paper doesn't make you any better at all unless you have the skills. And unless you use those skills to produce wealth, that means, again, creation of goods and services valuable to the people. An air-conditioned repairman, an electrician, a plumber, a carpenter. These are invaluable services. I keep telling people all the time, if there's no plumber, if your sewer system gets clogged up, your drainage is clogged up, you cannot survive. You cannot live even for one day with comfort. You require that to be immediately addressed. But if a distant IAS officer, a collector or somebody is there or not there, it doesn't make a difference to your life. I'm not debunking or devaluing the importance of senior official jobs. I was a senior civil servant myself. That's not the issue. The issue is that we give exaggerated importance to things that really don't matter. We must teach ourselves and those around us to value our own lives, the dignity of our own life, the comforts and conveniences that we get, the goods and services that we get, and therefore value the producers of these goods and services, not illusory importance of certain jobs which really do not add to our wealth. I hope the young people, they become smarter, wiser, figure out what is important for them, and therefore value work in that way. And there are signs that it is happening. Not as much as it should, not as fast as it should, but it is happening as opposed to other era. I increasingly see skilled workers being respected because people have become smart enough to realize without those skills, their lives will be very, very difficult, unbearable. And this process must continue and accelerate so that we actually value people for the value they bring to us rather than for the traditional notions of what is important, what is unimportant, what is pure, what is impure. These are stupid and dangerous notions.